Hey there, Tad Hargrave from Marketing for Hippies here, and I'm just walking over to the Grindstone Theater to perform a magic show. You may not know I actually perform magic from time to time, mostly just for friends, but an old friend of mine, Ron Pearson, has asked me to perform tonight, so thought I would. Anyways, today I had a conversation with a client who's in my mentorship program, and she had signed up for a program of a colleague of mine, which is like a $10,000-$11,000 program, and to do so she had to sign a contract, and fairly substantial contract. So that's a whole new world for me. I've never signed up for a program that I can think of where I really needed to sign a contract, and don't think I would want to. And I've never used them myself. So anyway, she wanted to get out of it, and there were just a few wrinkles in the contract that she hadn't seen because she didn't read the contract in depth. And so there's two sides of this. Of course, number one, if you're going to sign a contract, read the damn thing. I'm not pointing fingers at how many of us actually read the small print, but of course we bear a responsibility if we put our John Hancock on something without understanding it. But here's the big thing. I sent her a message and I said, did those people make sure that you read it? Because there were some very important bits in that contract, and did they make sure that you read it? Did they say, did they go over it with you? And she just said no, they never did. It was sort of a rushed conversation. It was at the end of a weekend workshop. Everyone was kind of burned out, and we didn't. And so here's the upside of this. What they're dealing with now is her wanting a refund. What they're dealing with is they already spent a bunch of time, not a ton actually, but they spent some time and some money to have her in the program, and now she wants her money back. And she probably shouldn't have been in the program in the first place, which is a filtering question. But when I talk about filtering in workshops, one of the things I always say is, look, I'm not talking about filtering as a, man, that light is pretty, huh? I'm not talking about filtering as a philosophical consideration. I'm not talking about it as a idea. I'm primarily talking about it mechanically, architecturally. In the business, you set up structures to make sure that the filtering happens. So one of the filters, if you're going to spend $10,000, is that contract. If you can't put your name on that contract, if you can't sign up with all the terms that are there, if you don't agree with the cancellation policy, then it's not a fit. And that's going to come out sooner or later. Somebody else in my mentorship program said he'd gone to this one huge rah-rah seminar, and they did this big pitch. Lots of people signed up, and the next day 90% of them, 90, canceled. Whereas another woman, one of the other women there, didn't do the big rah-rah pitch, had a much smaller sign up, and yet most of them stuck around. Almost nobody canceled. So again, my friend said, well, but it was the end of a weekend. We were all kind of fried and on the high from the weekend. Right. That's why you need systems. So you see what I'm saying? This is a mechanical something. That's why you need the systems, is to make sure that the filtering happens. You have a system to say, okay, look, it's just part of our process that everyone who signs up, we just go over the contract with them. And if people aren't willing to take a few minutes, okay, it's not a good time to sign the contract then. We just need to make sure we go through this and that you understand what you're getting into. And the fine print, this is the cancellation policy. This is how you get your money back. These are the conditions on that. This is what's expected of you. Here's what is expected of us. Here's where you get a full refund. Here's where it's partial. Here are the dates. Does this make sense? Do you have any questions about this? Any concerns? And if there are questions or concerns, then you go over them at that point. And if you do that well, you understand the contract is one point in the filtering process. That's not the whole thing. But if you do it well, then what do you get? Less cancellations, less requests for refunds. So this is a big deal. Again, this is just another example of how you structure it in. People go to sign the contract, and you have it built into your process that you walk them through it. You don't leave it to chance. You know, all this stuff is so often left to chance. Oh, I was just busy. Right. So you need a checklist. You need a system to make sure that these things really happen. There's so many ways, you know, if you look at my other videos under the topic of filtering, you'll see a number of other examples. But for those of you who are familiar with my work, the Are You Sure page, you know, when you're doing an intro workshop and you stand up at the front, you're not primarily trying to say, sign up for my thing. You're trying to say, if you have this issue, well, here's my point of view on it. And here's some options for follow-up. Here's who they're for. Here's who they're not for. You're not trying to get them to sign up. You're trying to filter. The in sales pages where you have the, hey, this could be for you if boom, it's not for you if this, you know, this is what this is, here's what it's not, here's how we do it, here's how we don't do it. All of this is filtering. And the contract is another place that's going to show up. And what made me think about it is, clearly if she'd read the contract, it might have actually slowed her down enough that she would not have laid down the cash. And if she did, at least she would have felt good about it. She would have said, well, they actually tried to slow me down and not just rush through the sale. Because of course, isn't that tempting? They're excited, they want to sign up. Okay, let's not slow it down at all. Let's just rush into it. Better to slow it down. So that's a thought on contracts. I'll probably keep posting these as these ideas and examples come of where filtering can show up in particular in these moments. I hope you're doing well. I'm off to go do some magic.